Thor's been active, and it's just another day. We've really only been seeing some of the short-term calls play out. Let me go ahead and just pull up the charts and get right to this shit. We've been doing a lot of sideways ranging, right? A lot of just not big swings. Basically, we'll say from the EMA line here where we left off last week, we've gone up 8%, down 10-12%, and that's really it. We're just kind of bouncing back and forth between this range. And you see we have broken our main trend line, our main support line. We had the break. Here's where we were talking about entering on the retest, setting stops above last low, or setting them real tight and looking for re-entry on the 1 hour or 4 hour. So far, if you had them set above the last high, which is right in the short entry, you're looking good. You're in profit. If you took any of these wicks on the retest, we're still looking pretty good. And price is being crunched, right? We see basically price is being crunched here between the EMAs. We're finding support on the long term, but it looks like we keep finding rejection on the short term. And the one that's really being respected right now is the downtrend. You can see we've tapped it. We just tapped it, and this candle has started off green, but it's only been going for 3 minutes. So there's still another 3 hours and 57 minutes before we have another candle close to show whether we are working up and maybe get the break and retest of the downtrend. Are we going to potentially see the pump break out, get the retest, and then maybe enter the shorts, and again making higher highs, higher lows, filling out the Thor calls, something like that. Or, as we've been saying for a while, I mean, when you look at the chart, Sol's been going up and with some authority for a while, So even even you look at this little retest here, even something of this size and magnitude would put us down here in these 4 hour long calls, right? Which is still a pretty significant hit to the market. We're talking 40%, which is a pretty big hit to the market, 40%, which is totally doable, though, especially the way Sol has just fucking ripped. And you see that entry zone right here where we found a lot of price action going on before. And then you see we have these resistance levels right here. We had that high, right? This pink line here, that was a temporary high. And you see right where the take profit kind of ends right at that high. So if we come down to this price range, we're probably going to retest that previous high right here, right? What became support and resistance often flips or is retested again. So at this point, like we said last week, it wouldn't be surprised if things cooled down a little bit, right? And if we go to Bitcoin, we can see that trend actually played out pretty close as an arbitrary trend. But you can see when we started breaking uptrend and then started to move sideways. And now, same thing, we've lost support on the longer time frame EMA, and we're kind of retesting the short-term EMA. And right now, again, you look at the wick of the previous candles, It looks like we may be finding rejection. Same with Sol. If you look at the wick of the previous candle, it looks like we may have found some rejection there. But if we keep printing candles under this red line, under the white EMA, I wouldn't be surprised if we come down to at least retest this last high, if not enter these Thor long calls. And that first long call is closer than it looks, that's 20%, which, 20% sounds like a lot, but this is fucking crypto. That can happen in no time, right? 12% up to our closest short call that we had posted last week, and about 15% to 17% or so to the higher short call that was just posted this week, right? This is the 1 hour and 4 hour short call we had last week from Thor, still printed here. And these were the 4 hour, let me bring that back, the 4 hour and daily long calls from last week. So I really do think that we may see, we've got the break and the retest. We look to be losing support of the long term. We look to be finding resistance on the short term. We look to be finding resistance on the downtrend. And it looks like we are finding some resistance here on neutral on the RSI as well. So if you did get in on the break, because I like to say, get on the break, reload on the retest, right? If you entered on the break, you're sitting currently only maybe 3% away, if that. And if you DCA'd in or got in on the retest, we'll just pick somewhere, not the very tippy top here, but somewhere where you have multiple opportunities to enter. You'd be sitting in 5% profit right now. So break, we got the break, we've got the retest. So again, why do we think short? Because we had 5 indicators, right? Indicator number 1 would be right here. We have a high and we have a lower high. So that's indicator number 1, that we may be losing this potential trend. Indicator number 2, we broke our downtrend. We broke our uptrend, this long green diagonal line that we found support on over and over and over, right? It's been support. Every time we've gotten near it, we've jumped away from it. Well, we've lost support on it. That's number 2. Number 3 would be we made a lower low. So this was our low. We've now made a lower low. Our next indicator is right here at the lower high, right? So this is our first indicator, second indicator, third indicator, and then our fourth is to get in here. Looking to find rejection on the RSI could potentially line up to be a 5th indicator. And like I said, we were looking, this candle, it had flipped red for just a moment because it's only printed for 10 minutes into a 4-hour candle. So that candle's going to change color a couple times, but you can see each time we've hit this red line, rejection, 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 and we're just squeezing up into it. So we're either going to take that pump and go up 13, 17% and look to take these short calls, or break down 20% and look to take these long calls. We talked about on our own TA, if you open a short at this point, on the break or retest. So if we just say take in the middle of the break and retest, as if you bought and DCA'd, go from the middle, we would set our first take profit here at this point, right? Our first take profit would be in the Thor long if we had a short open. Our second take profit point will be here in the Thor long entry if you have a short open. So if again, and if you happen to be in a long right now, not financial advice, do your own research, but once we pump up this 13 to 17% and enter these short calls, that may be a spot you want to take some profits on any longs that you may currently have. Let me pull up. Does anybody have any questions real quick? Or any questions about Solana, the calls we made last week, where we're sitting now, anything about these charts we're going over?
Yo.
What's up, bro?
Not much. No questions yet. Just wanted to say what up, guys.
Glad to see you here each week, man. Appreciate you for real.
What's your gut take, Mode? What's your gut say? We going up? We respecting the downtrend, or what do you think?
Sol has ripped, man. Sol has been on a long rip up. It's hard not to see even like a retest of this size. You know, you look at that little retrace right there. Could clearly see the potential for that little retrace right here, and us still be completely bullish, right? Like we can take a big hit. We can drop down to here, in my opinion, 65%. Take a 60, 70% hit, and we'll still be making the higher low, right? So we've had the high, low, higher high. Anywhere above an 80% loss would still be a higher low. I think it's going to be here in this zone. Say again?
Just imagine the amount of people that'll then buy if it does drop that low.
Oh shit! Imagine the amount of people that are going to sell because, dude, it's the fear to zero. There's no hope. Bail out now, right? So you got educated people like us that are going to be buying, right? While the emotional people are FOMOing. But you can see we established this box a while ago, and this zone as well. You know, and same way we had established this and we said this was our buy zone, we tapped into it, we found support on it. I think this zone here is going to be the same as this. This is kind of maybe I can make it a similar color so it looks the same.
Question for you, Mode.
What's up?
Are these, when you say the higher high, the higher low, I'm talking what we're looking at right now, is that what time frame is that on for the next close where we'd be able to confirm, like if it dropped to 65?
This is the 4-hour chart. So, and I usually look at the 4-hour charts. Is that what you mean by time frame?
Well, you said if we retest 65 or so, we'd still be closing, or we'd still be on a higher low. What is that on a longer time frame than the 4-hour, or still 4-hour?
Well, if we're looking at that, would kind of almost be looking at it more in a daily view. To be honest, to where you see low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Anywhere up here would still be on our bullish long-term daily trend, right? This has kind of been our long-term daily trend here. We'll make that big fat trend so we know it's our long one. Yeah. So coming down and retesting this, I think, is completely viable. And if we go back to the 4-hour chart, just because that's how we usually view it, again, you know, you can come down to, I think this is a great DCA zone here. I think we're going to at least test support, and Thor feels the same. If we lose this, man, I think we're either going to tap and load up in this zone or find support just like we found support here.
Those
Maybe
are also
have
higher lows. Those would also be higher lows and bullish.
in the long term, yeah. So you can see what I just drew. This is a downtrend and would be bearish, right? But if we zoom out and look at it in the daily, right, that's still bullish. That's a perfect retest, and that's where you'd want to look for entry for a bullish, because low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low indicates that potential higher high. Now, if we come up and don't make the higher high, then maybe that's the potential indicator of not continuing out bullish. But long term, yeah, we can lose. We can take a 60% hit right now, drop down to these zones of 50. Here in this Thor call between 59 and 55, or even drop down here into the 40 to 35 range, and still be bullish in the long term.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
For sure. Which is awesome to think about, right? It's awesome to think, man, we could take a 50% hit. I could potentially buy Solana for 50% less and know it's still bullish and still moving in the direction we want, right? And if that happens, I see Thor making some mega calls and mega buys in these ranges.
Oh yeah, that and Auto Thor at those ranges for me, as someone new to Sol in the last 2 months, would be an absolute godsend.
Absolutely, and that's what I mean. I think Thor would be making massive buys, sending signals, and it would be eating up Sol down here, if we got down that point. Even if we get down to this 50 range.
You're wanting to put in more stable coin to Thor, Auto Thor at that point, like when you start trending down towards those ranges, so I can start loading up to buy if we hit them.
That's a good time to do so. Anytime you can kind of load up on what looks like support or what looks like a longer term. What I mean longer term is 4 hour or a daily call. I think those are the best times you can load up. And this is what's great about, if you're bullish on Solana, you want to accumulate as much Solana as you can, right? And that is ultimately what the Thor Auto Thor does. Is Auto Thor is trying to, it's holding a bag of Sol, it's selling a little bit of its bag of Sol high so it can start purchasing bags of Sol again lower, right? But the purpose of it is to accumulate more Solana. So if you want to just make more USD, of course it does that as well, as long as Solana is performing well or even just flatlining, right? Because you're accumulating more Sol. But if your goal is to accumulate Sol, the Auto Thor is where it's fucking at, in my opinion. And that's why I moved a good bit of my trading account into it, in this bear market, and then was building up for this pump up. And one thing to notice a lot of times, if your percentage of your personal contract performance is going down, well, that means the price of Solana is going down. And if you look at the amount of Solana you have, a lot of times that value is going up. So if you were just to hold Sol, all you're doing is losing USD value without accumulating more Sol. If the point of the contract and the way it operates is when you're losing USD value, you're accumulating more souls. So instead of returning to what would essentially be break even of holding, you're returning to break even with an extra bag of Solana, right? Like accumulate, like especially against, USD, which we know it's losing buying power. But this is ultimately why I'm super excited for the Thordinals contract as well. So I'm accumulating more Solana or accumulating more Bitcoin and just start to fucking stack sats. Again, see, now this candle's printing red. It's you got to really watch a candle that's being printed, especially in these longer term. You can't say like, oh, this candle's red, that means we're going down. I mean, it could still find support, could still do all kinds of shit in the next 3.5 hours before it ultimately closes red or green. But at this time, with what we have a wick that looks like rejection, and we are starting to print red, which indicates rejection. Go ahead, boss.
Yeah. I when I am in the situation, then I try to look at the 1 hour charts and maybe higher to try to see a trend, right? When the 4 hour is not closed. I don't know if this.
Good point. And if we do that, if we do go into the 1 hour and we zoom in a little closer, you can see, if we look at the 4 hour again, you can see we're still above water, right? Remember, I call the longer term trend line water, the blue line. You don't want to be below water. You want to be riding the wave and above water, right? Now, if we go break down to the 1 hour chart, you can see these EMAs are getting close, but they haven't crossed yet. If we zoom in on the 1 hour chart, we see we did get the bearish cross already, right here. We had the bearish cross. And now the short-term EMA is finding rejection, it looks like, on the long-term EMA, and we are underwater. And you can see we found that resistance. And right now we are printing candles of resistance. And we are above neutral, but I don't know that we're going to hold support here of the RSI either. So yeah, good point. You can kind of, when you're really on the line and really got to pay attention, you can zoom in by going into a lower time frame chart. But remember, if you're making your longer term decision on a 4 hour chart, you kind of want to wait for your indicators on this chart, but you can zoom in and say, okay, here's an indication I am going to get my indicator, be ready. Or maybe you say, okay, if we don't hold the short term EMA here, okay, I'm looking to enter, right? So definitely good point on that. Zooming into the chart by going into a shorter time frame.
It's one of the benefits of this Trader Tuesday is Sol hits $30. Everybody's freaking out, and you're just chilling because we've known this for. Not saying it's gonna happen, but if it did, you're gonna be in a lot stronger position.
What do you mean with chilling? I tried to sell my left ball when
Exactly. If Sol goes to $30, I can tell you I'm fucking broke.
If it comes down to here in this zone and this long-term support line that goes all the way back from when it got down to $8, right? Yeah, people are going to be panicking and we're going to be partying. Like, yeah, because that's time to blow the fuck up for sure. And like I said, Bitcoin 4-hour chart, you see, that was a big print now. Last time we printed huge candles like that, we found support on our trend. We found support before the longer term EMA, right? We printed big candles, big reds, we found support. We printed big reds, we found support. Again, we printed big red candles and we lost support of the long-term EMA and are actually finding rejection on the long-term EMA and rejection on the short-term EMA. In a way, right now, you could look at this. We haven't kept up with this chart a lot, but you can connect the trend kind of from here and see all these taps, right? Support, 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 support. And look, blast through it, and what's this? That's a break and that's a retest, right? We also have support, 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 break, and looks like we're finding the retest on the EMA as well. Not financial advice, do your own research. I don't know what Thor is calling for short calls on Bitcoin. I haven't looked, but this may be a time to consider opening up a short on Bitcoin, or maybe taking a little bit of profit and looking to re-enter on long calls. Not financial advice, do your own research. I'm not saying, oh, go open a short right now. I'm saying look into it, see what indicators are lining up. We are printing candles below the white EMA, short term. We are printing candles below the blue EMA, the long term. We are below neutral on the RSI. We did top out on the RSI here and say we need to cool off a little. Was some of this from the ETF news that we got this little bit of blow off? Quite possibly. And, getting a whole bunch of new people that never been into crypto all excited to buy into crypto here and let them make 10% over the fucking week. Fuck yeah, I'm so glad I got into crypto. Man, I should tell my buddies to get into crypto too. That's a good time to dump it on these people. Come down, test some of these support zones again. Get them to, then paper hand out as we return and turn back up, right? We just saw a lot of new liquidity enter the market. You think with new prey that the predators aren't going to be out, right?
Hey, Mo. Hey, guys.
What's up? What's up?
Is it safe to assume that when the price hits a certain resistance or support many times, that eventually it will lose it? For example, if it hits too much the support at one point, if it always goes back to it, at one point they will not be finding any more support. They will. I don't know if you understand what I mean. And
yes, I do know what you mean. For sure, and that's kind of why I put what these previous tops were, right, and what the previous bottoms were, because this was the top. Back here was the top. So what happens? We find resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, and then all of a sudden we break that resistance, right? Now, these levels that were resistance that we eventually broke through, I see becoming a support level, potential support. So what's Thor saying? If we wick down through here, we're probably going to test that as support, right? This level here that was support, 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 If we lose that and it becomes we may come up, right? And then test that as resistance. So again, what was support often becomes resistance and vice versa. We can see this too if we go back to our chart here. And what I mean by that is right, if I draw lines like this, see, price is going to bounce around and retest in here, right? It pumps up, it breaks down, it pumps up, and many times it found resistance, resistance, resistance. You know, this was resistance. It was resistance, but then it became support. Now it looks to become support again. So yeah, you'll often find yourself in these levels moving through, and you can look at, you know, where in these levels you are horizontally. It is good to take note of that, but in my personal TA, what I have found to line up for me the most, give me the best indicators and direction, are not the horizontal supports and resistance, but these big trend line support and resistance, right? Now, if we go back to SOL, you'll see I have noted where was that last major resistance, right? This was that last major resistance. This was that last major resistance that I kind of look to be support now, right? I do take note of that. However, to me, this is what gives me the earliest indicators are these diagonal trend lines of testing support, 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 now becoming resistance, right? Then looking at just the horizontal level of when I see the support and resistance. You're absolutely right. And you know, think about it as a floor and a ceiling, right? If you keep slamming on the floor over and over and over, eventually you're going to break through, right? If you keep slamming something into the ceiling over and over and over, eventually you're going to break through, right? So it's the same with support and resistance levels. I hope that cleared your question up and didn't confuse it more, because I went on a long fucking tangent there.
Perfect. Great analogy.
Awesome.
What you said there about seeing the chart like vertically and horizontally is super helpful context for macro and micro, like understanding price action.
Yeah, because here's how I see things, right? I'm just gonna just say 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go 5, right? So if we start on level 1, right? So we've now made a higher low, right? We get a break. We break this level, right? This horizontal level. And we come down and we retest that horizontal level, right? We come and retest this high. And if we break through it, we're going to establish a new line. We don't know where this line's going to be, right? This line isn't established until we decide maybe that high is only right here, right? Okay. Well, now we have that, grab it, that line, that level, right? So you see how we move up and test levels. And this is often how we do it. A big rise out of number 1 to leave the zone, a short one, and then when people don't get in, They FOMO on the last one that's a big pump. Now what we often see here, I'm just going to change this red real quick. What we often see here is this is where we'll see, right, the M form. We're going to retest, right? So what we've done here is we've essentially made one move up, two move up, three moves. One move down, two moves down, three. Now we're basically just going to copy this, and market makers are going to do the same shit all over again. And you say, well, how does it ever get higher? Because look, we've moved up one level now, right? So in the grand scheme, we went up just to come right back down. Why? Because market makers are buying here. They'll sell a little here. They'll sell a little here. They'll lose money here just to sell to people that are FOMOing in here, right? They'll sell cheap to pump price the fuck up just to sell to everybody here, knowing they're going to buy it back down here again. And you see how that process just repeats itself, right? So you can use horizontal levels, but me personally, I really find that these are the trends that let me know, okay, I've got the higher low, I've got the break, I've got the retest. And on this retest here, this is my ultimate entry. Just like here, I've got the break, got the retest. This here is my ultimate entry, right? Sure, I didn't get the first level. I missed the first level. I'm okay with that because I get level 1 again, because you get it on the retest. You get level 1, level 2, take profits. Just because I miss level 1 here, I get it on the retest, get level 1, get level 2, get level 3, now make assumptions again. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I'm the one that's sorry. Do you use the horizontal lines maybe during when it's trading sideways or distribution? You know,
Exactly.
not when there's a clear. Okay. When there's a clear trend, like perfect.
So that's why I have them on this chart, because we've kind of been, I should do this and change this to some type of green, since it is looking to be a potential support now, horizontal line. But yes, that's why I have these lines too, because, and my wedge lets me know when things are just kind of being squeezed down, but this lets me know when I'm breaking out of a current range. And it also lets me see where Thor calls line up. Like this is saying, okay, we may make a higher low, right? I'm sorry, a lower high. Let me repeat that. Where we may retest a lower high, right? And it just allows me to see right where all this action is right now. That's where the take profit is for this call. That's where the take profit is for this call. But that's why I have this. And then ultimately what will happen is if price were to break it, this will move up, and then this will have become the new support, right? So there's always a support and always a resistance. And I usually do them off of what kind of the last high on the big pump was, right? Here we did it. I brought it more up to here just because that's when we were on stream, right? But yes, I do look at these horizontal levels for ranging, and it's a great time, especially to quote unquote farm a little bit if you've got if you notice we're in a range for a little bit, maybe sell a little bit of SOL, buy a little bit. If you sell a little bit anywhere lower, you buy it is a gain, right? Especially if you can establish these supports and resistance. And, if we zoom in closer to the 1 hour, the chart looks all kinds of fucked up because how much shit on it I've got. But you could see a more clear support right around here. Because look, every time we've hit this, we've jumped away from it. And you could establish a more clear resistance, say somewhere around there. Because every time we've gotten here, resistance, 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 resistance. And, you could have established that pretty early by this low and this high, right? This low, this high, and multiple times been able to take profits long or short in this shorter term range. Does that make sense? And how to use those levels to, sell one SOL, buy one SOL, or buy 1.5 SOL with whatever you sold with. You know what I mean? Sell a little bit, buy a little bit. Sell a little bit, buy a little bit when you're caught in these ranges. Now, what lets me know that I may be breaking out of this range earlier than now I get up to here, right? And I break out, right? You wouldn't know we're breaking out of this range until here. I'd know there's a potential of breaking out to this range when I break here and when I retest here, right? So sometimes the diagonals help you. I look to my diagonals as my support and resistance most often, but as you can see, I do mark tops and bottoms as a channel of retest, support, and resistance. And yes, if we keep just slamming into this bottom resistance, or I'm sorry, this bottom support, chances are we will break through it and then find resistance. Just like every time we found support, once we break through it, we find resistance on it, right? Same thing, a break and retest would be to the up. We found resistance. Resistance, once you break resistance, we look for it to become support. Right? So again, it's a game of time and levels. And ultimately, this is my opinion. If you find a method where you can understand a level and where you are within that level, that's winning half the battle, because then you know if you are buying on a support and shorting on a resistance, because that's what you always want to be doing, right? You don't want to be going long on resistance, right? You want some type of indicator that it's a support of some kind, not, well, it's been resistance, I'm going to hope this is the time it breaks through. That's gambling, and that's not what we're doing here. That's not what I'm advocating. In my TA, I understand where I am by looking at these movements, at these. And when I can figure out where I am in a level, I can decide what I want to take advantage of and prepare for. If not having these diagonals and looking at these levels and saying, hey, well, I kept finding support, found support, wait a minute, that wasn't support anymore. Or, wait, I found resistance, I found resistance, I found resistance. You know, but ultimately you don't know this level that you're in isn't a support until here. Where if I have a diagonal, I know here is one indicator, here is my second, here is my third, here's my point of entry on the fourth, there's the fifth. So you kind of wouldn't know you lost this level till what would be a second indicator, you know, I guess a lower high. But I like to have that diagonal to show me the break and the retest. And it's ultimately what I found the most repeatably profitable and the way I trade with the least emotion. Like I just feel like I understand where I am the best is looking at these levels and looking at this support. But again, if you find that looking at this level, you know, what making this your support and making this your resistance and seeing where you are in between and reacting accordingly to these levels, if that's how you see the market the best and are in the most confident, fucking more power to you, like for real. There's a lot of people that trade that way and a lot of trading strategies on that. It's just not what I look at first personally. I refer.
You had a question in the chat mode too. Whenever you get in between what you're coming up.
Word. Yeah, I see it more like this. And again, you see this pattern. Oh, fuck it. This pattern right here is the same pattern as this right here, right? But this is how it would operate on a 15-minute chart. This is how it would operate on a 4-hour daily. That's why you can have a 4-hour daily long, you know, going long, but have a 1-hour or 15-minute short, right? The market's going long, but Thor can precisely call, okay, this looks like a top. This was resistance before. That's probably going to be support and a retest, right? Let me chat here. What's your opinion on the current 1-hour injective Thor call short? Okay, let me first go to Thor. Actually, let me just pull up injective first. Which it doesn't look like I have added to our list. I looked at this side at some point. You can see the resistance, or I'm sorry, the support Drew's been holding up. You can see when that line broke, we did go into that sideways range, just like you were talking about. You know, you could have looked to farm right here. Once we know we got that break, that sideways range, multiple opportunities to scalp, looking at bouncing back and forth between your support and resistance. Okay, same thing here. Now that we've broken what was that support, looks to be the same thing. We could be having a resistance level and support level. Okay, now let me go to Thor. Let me do a refresh. Okay, so I'm going to turn Soul off, turn Injective Protocol on. That's not right. The current price is 40.47. So that current price didn't reload for some reason. Okay, what is your opinion on the 1 hour Injective Thor short? So let me turn 1 hour on. The 1 hour short is the same as the 4 hour, right? So we see we've got the same entry point on the 1 hour as we do the 4 hour, which is a good thing. I'm going to turn this 1 hour off just to remove some clutter. And I know it's the same as this call right here. So 47.83, 47.32. Let me go back. I'm going to get my box. Somebody, what was it? 47.82 and 47.23. Is that right?
I'm not sure, but I
Yes.
think he is referring to a short call that is already invalidated. Because I also took the same short.
So you're saying, oh, you're not talking about this call then. You're talking about another
I
one.
think so. He's writing in the chat 41.1. So I think this was. Yeah, you could see it in a few hours ago. I think it's now stopped out.
Okay, so let's just do this. Your entry was 41.10. So I mean, dude, if you this has been resistance. We've broken our trend line here, right? We're starting to test the longer term EMA. If anything, you may want to look to set your stop loss above last high, right? So somewhere up here above the last highs, if you're in a short, that somewhere up here is where you'd be wanting to set a stop loss at. Not financial advice, do your own research. But in my opinion, look how long we were printing candles above the white, and then we tested it. We did test the longer term EMA and find support. We're kind of in that position right now of, do we find support on the short term EMA, or is this kind of the higher low resistance? And this is the start of a downtrend. I guess we will find out shortly. But that's not a bad, if you're already in it, that's not a bad entry point, I don't think. It looks like the higher low I'm sorry, the lower high. Why do I keep doing that? It looks like the lower high. It looks like we've been struggling to hold support. It certainly looks like we could go short from here. You know, and ultimately you could set your stop loss at break even right now if you wanted and be okay. But you know, we've got several wicks here, which looks like resistance. So I'd let it ride, man.
I have also the same call. I took it also. I set my stop loss at 42.2, a little bit higher than Tor was recommend.
So there you go. Okay. Now, one thing, this is just me. I understand why you set your stop loss there. What I would personally do is I would probably look to the top of this wick. You see that wick right there?
Yeah.
I would probably set my stop loss above that just in case it tries to capture a little more liquidity out of those wicks. But
Yeah.
it also depends. I don't know if you're using leverage and whatever else. But you know, they like to do that. Just inject in and grab some liquidity and get away. You know, that's why you see these big candles on the bottom. They're sucking up liquidity, leaving the zone. Sucking up liquidity, leaving the zone. And they'll do the same thing on the top. Grab as many buy orders as they can and then send it short. Buy as many buy orders as they can, send it short. This same thing. Buy up as much as they can cheap, then send it long, try to get people to FOMO in. Right? But no, I wouldn't say that's a bad entry. I don't know why that call was invalidated. I guess Thor maybe saw it's continuously finding support, but if you're already in the call, you're in profit, so I wouldn't bail on it just yet. You know, if anything, set it to break even or see if we lose this support. You know, there's your little wedge for that trade, per se. Here's your wedge, right? So if you're holding that, you see we've got resistance. We've got this pretty much could go close to down there, but not quite. Guess you could maybe look at this a little wider. So that way you've got 2 points of support at least, 2 points of resistance, but yeah. Again, you're looking to see if you break up or break down out of that wedge. And you notice the wedges are usually, you know, was 11% up. And then if it were to go up from here, or I'm sorry. Yeah, from the middle of the wedge, about 18 down to that resistance, about 12 up. It's usually pretty close to the middle. I mean, that current EMA estimated moving average, 14%, 16%. You know, it's pretty close to right there in the middle. Don't know why that call was invalidated. Maybe because it pumped up the, yeah, well, see on the 1 hour chart because it is a 1 hour call. Yeah, I mean,
I
resistance.
think Thor had a stop loss set with the risk manager at 41.9 something. And I entered pretty late, but I was still in the range. And I was thinking make a little bit the stop loss a little bit higher, so I took 42.2. Yeah.
There you go.
So
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah, I mean, if you're on the 1 hour chart, this is zooming in to look. You want to see, do you hold support on the short term EMA and break out here, or do you find, do we lose support? Like, does this hold resistance, or does this lose support? One's going to hold, one's going to fail. But, you know, managing your risk like you're doing, having the stop loss tight, being ready to enter another call, that's the way you do it. You're never going to get all of them right. No one is. Like, you getting stopped out isn't a bad thing. Like, yeah, I mean, sure, it's not what you ultimately want is to be stopped out. To be liquidated is way worse. To not have a stop loss and be holding a bag and holding regret is way worse. I'm telling you, being stopped out is nowhere near as bad as regret. I promise you. So, yeah, it's going to happen sometimes. It's part of trading. It's a common part of trading. It's just something we got to get used to and try to learn. Okay, why didn't this one work? Maybe I can take a small note and put a little more of that right side of probability into my next trade. But yeah, getting stopped out is not a bad thing. It's just something you got to get used to, and it lets you know, okay, didn't make it, got money to try again. And knowing how accurate Thor is, having money to try again is really all you need. That's risk management. Someone had asked about Pith a while ago. And I meant to text Rumpty because I remember you had asked about it. But man, as soon as we had this break and retest, that's when it ultimately just got stupid. Look, where you see the bullish cross and then the retest here, that was kind of like the indicator for me that, okay, this could be a real turnaround and not just a false pump like these. And since then, it's gone an additional 20%. We have broken the longer term.
I'm waiting on the retest, bro, and then I'm DCA.
Yes. If you want to get into or add to your bag, wait for the retest. Don't chase it now while it's pumping. You know, we want to, even though this is much shorter term, we at least want to see it break up out of the downtrend it's currently in, right? Or just the downtrend that can be established. I shouldn't say the downtrend that it's in, because again, this is where time's relative, right? From here to here, we're in a downtrend.
Thor has a 4 hour short for PIS right now active. I'm also in on that.
Say that again, bro.
There's an active 4 hour short for PIS right now on Thor.
Oh, okay, cool. So, and is the take profit probably somewhere around, which was support, resistance, 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 support. Is it somewhere down here right around 3 cents? Or 296, somewhere in there would be a take profit?
I have it.
Wow, go figure. I didn't even look. How do you
Yeah,
figure
your
that
take
out?
profit one is at 29.9, then 28.5, and then 27.1.
Exactly. See? Right here, which was
29.9.
support, resistance, 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 resistance. Thor's saying if we go short, we are going to retest this level, right? Because so much happened on that level again, and that's where right where you said the take profits are, right? So that makes sense. And in my opinion, so what I was saying is if you look from here to here, we're in a downtrend. But if you go from here to here, we're in an uptrend. But if you go from here, we're clearly in a downtrend, right? So it all depends on what's your time frame that you're really looking at as uptrend, downtrend, is my point that I'm trying to make here. But that looks like that's your buy range, not financial advice. Do your own research. But if you are looking to DCA and go long, I think this is kind of your buy zone. Anything around that. Basically anything below 3 cents, I think is probably a good time to DCA if you're looking for the long term. Now, just for shits and giggles, if we're talking about this long term and that break and retest, well, let's look at the first W that we have, the pump and higher low. All right, just for fun, let's see where the fibs line up. Right, so that's our low. That's where we pump to. I say take profit on the blue and the green. Right here's the blue hidden at 3 cents. That was resistance, resistance, resistance. But look what happened when we broke through it, right? Perfect. Let me get rid of this box just so you can see it better. Look at that. Right on the fucking line. Perfect. And then looks like we may have our high here, right? So potentially, let's line up fib in the opposite direction and see if we get nearly some of the same things. So entrance anywhere somewhere around 3.8 to no, I'm sorry. Let me get rid of that. That's not the numbers I want to be seeing. I don't need to see this. I want to see price, not levels. Okay. All right, that makes sense. What was the entry point on that call? Anywhere from about 347 to 3546?
Yeah, I entered at the 3.5.
What, 352 is the top, and then the bottom is what, like 346?
Okay. Yep. So you see right there, 347, 354. Pretty damn close, right on fucking point. And then take profit right here at 287 on the blue line. And then my ultimate take profit is here on the green. And where's that green? Lines right up with these lower wicks where it's saying if we break down, we're going to test those zones again. However, I'm not saying we are going down here. I do think that since we are holding a pretty good uptrend, the RSI has been on a pretty good uptrend, and looks to be testing on support again. It wouldn't be surprise me if we do break down about another 15% or so, 12-15%, fill that Thor call, retest these zones, completing for us then are, let me zoom out a little bit, our break and retest, right? And looking to move out. Now, if we're looking at this long term, right? Let's say longer term. If this is our first pump and we're now looking for our break, our retest, right? So we'll set, oh, not that. We're going to set our fib from here down to the bottom before we broke out. You can see the take profit of the short is right on my entry for going long, right? If we're talking long-term DCA, right? You know, I told you my gold zone, right? There's my gold zone. Pull it over here so you can see where it hits price. And then I'd be looking to take profit here just before it's retesting where it was in highs, right? And where we had a lot of price action. And if it does break out, look at that, retesting highs before we think it may cool down. So if you're looking to DCA, long range, not financial advice, if this is something you're bullish on, long term, you think it's got some legs, you can use that short take profit as a potential long entry. And I don't know. Let's just go look. Let's go see real quick if there is any long, where the long entries are. Okay, so we have a 4-hour and a daily at 31.88 and 29. So they are a little bit higher. Okay, so to me, what those calls are is if we highlight out our pattern here. Let me make this red. Just because I'm fucking anal.
Hey, yo.
See, I think we may break down retest here. What's up? Did
No, you just said fucking anal, and I just, hey, yo.
So this is where I see some of those Thor long calls being, right? A Thor long call would potentially be this section here. I didn't draw it out to the exact numbers, but you see how entering here at 31, like it said, could be your pump up. Entering here at 29 could be your pump up. So you see how you could take advantage of longs even in a downtrending market.
Thor also in that same time frame has a short on if it like legs up as well to the 45 cents.
Up to 4. Okay. So right here. Yeah, because if we again, we move.
I was looking at that blue line. It's so Interesting how that all aligns
Right.
like that.
And we move in levels, and that's if that is how we are going, that's our levels that we usually move. Here up to the white, retest down somewhere in one of these levels, up to the blue, retest down to the white, which would be these tops, right? Up to the green, and then from there, it's usually, sometimes you make some moves and really blow off, and other times that's where you look to reset. A lot of times that's where we'll see the area where it starts to do this. And you start to see the breakdown.
I think you could take a look at the newest pair, Gecko. Got a lot of calls right now on tour.
Give me a second. I gotta pull that up on Bird, I believe. Right? Isn't that on?
Yes.
All right, give me a second.
Yo, where can I long or short this meme coin? So yeah, for example,
Seriously
Gecko.
though,
Is this possible, or is only spot trading possible?
I don't know of any for
Yeah.
Gecko.
Yeah.
If I find out, I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right. Now, Rumpty, I don't know if you remember, I told you I did take profits on Gecko, and then I did buy a little back. Not all of it, just a portion. But I did call pretty damn close to the top. I did take profits somewhere right up in here. And then I bought some of it back at 50% cheaper, I remember. So I bought it, I think, right after this low. I think I bought it right here when it looked like it could have been making the higher low. At 50% cheaper, I bought some of it back. Now it's just been trending sideways, and we could probably set a range like that. This is a 1 hour chart, just because there's not a lot of data, right? But something to note, this is a 1 hour chart, not a 4 hour chart. But again, just because we don't have, if I go to 4 hour, there's just not much to look at, right? It's hard to look at it when you just really don't have much of anything. So that's where what I want to see a breakout of. But at this time, it does look like, that was the low, at least for now, and does look like it held. But I want to see this downtrend broken before I think about reinvesting anything. I want to see the break, and I want to see the higher low, and I want to enter on that higher low.
Bet.
Did anybody stake
you
there?
understand me, right? Like that's the thing. Having we always want to catch the bottoms, right? But I'm telling you, that's what I tried to learn forever, was to call the bottom, right? All I wanted to do was call the bottom, right? And if you're here, perfect. You called the bottom, didn't you? Well, not really. And then you think, oh, well, look, here, this had to be the bottom. This is the higher low. Well, nope, not really. So again, this has to be the bottom, right? Or does this say, well, nope, not really. That's why I like my diagonal line versus horizontal lines. Right? Because I want to see the break of this. Not just the hold, because you got the hold on the horizontal until it broke down out of it. I want to see it break and then hold, and on that hold is my entry point. Not financial advice, do your own research.
And free, no, I didn't stake mine. I had a lot
Profit,
of buddies who
yeah.
did, or young. I didn't stake mine, but I had a lot of buddies who did. And then the staking, I think, they stopped it for now, I believe.
Yeah, they got congested and like released another like 12-month, and then you got like some token in exchange, and I didn't really I didn't read into it. I just fucking did it. So I was just wondering if anyone else did.
I've got some buddies who did it. But
Wait, you can stake your gecko?
You could before. I don't know if you still can now. You might be able to. There was an interesting way that they had rolled that out where just not your usual staking where you're just earning back gecko per se is slightly different. So, but I went and looked for it and I couldn't find it anywhere. And yeah, I didn't know that. So thanks for letting me know that, Young.
Then probably is closed then.
So, Wellick, I hope I said that right. Dope Stone Ape. Puff took a fucking pump. We should look at that in a minute too. But these are the points, I would potentially short term, if you're looking short term, what I would be looking to take profits on. You can see that was a resistance. That was a resistance. So, if you were to buy in this range, I'm not in any way saying you should. I'm just saying if we get the break and retest, or if this is the bottom, or if you wish to DCA current price, definitely look to take some profits there at 57%. Definitely look to take some profits there at 100%. That's, and in my opinion, it's probably not a bad place to DCA. A little bit, but the break and that retest, I like to buy on the break and buy DCA on the retest. But yeah, man, you're looking at 50% plus and then up to 100 just to retest, which was clearly resistance, and I think would be.
I'm pretty positive you just drew out both of the 1 day shorts for gecko on Manual Thor. Like pretty positive. It's what is
and
it?
when it comes up, it's probably going to come down and retest right here.
Is that 3 zeros and a 3-7? That's the entry for the first short for Manual Thor. That first line that you drew. What's that at?
3, 2, 6. 3, 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's a game of levels, time and levels.
But I don't know what the sell thing is that you're talking about. So, to the moon. Puff went a little ballistic earlier. Holy shit. Yeah. That God candle.
And I don't know if it's done.
Yeah, when did that happen?
That was
this is a 1 hour chart.
15 January. Yesterday.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Dude, we're on support.
That's what it is. What Woolick is saying it. It's the space missions. I heard about that.
Space missions coming. Okay. But yeah, man, it's been a while since a movie.
That's an OGS collection right there, boy.
Good shit. Oh shit. But right now, Puff looks to be on support. I mean, we had a pump of 200%, and then it came all the way back down to where it was really only a 15% pump, which is pretty legit, to where, you know, it probably could take off again. Again, just shits and giggles. Let's see. Look at that.
If he's talking about those
Ooh.
space, if he's talking about those space
Look.
missions too, it's gonna be another buy for sure when that shit comes out and all that. So
Look at this shit. So again, you know where my gold buy zone is, right? Right here on the gold line. This is my gold buy zone. If this is the bottom and this is the first pump, we're in the buy zone. Profit would be at 5 cents and 8 cents.
sheesh. He said they'd stop the emissions too. So
I mean,
interesting.
potential resistance. But yeah, we could, I mean, it could see 8 cents.
That would be wild.
What's that? You know, in a couple days, end of the month potentially. Especially if this shit starts ripping. I mean, if it breaks that last high, you know, 5 cents is a good spot to look to take some profit, and then potentially, where am I?
Well, I already bought it, Mode. You didn't say not financial advice. Got you, bitch.
Take some profit at 5 cents if you want. Buy back down here at 3 when we retest, you know, 3.5 cents. And then take your profit at 8.
I caught the absolute pico top of this. I was at work and I was flipping through screens and flipping through my coins on Bird Eye, just looking around, and I seen the candle and I'm like, what the hell? I jumped into my wallet, I stabled out on all of my puff, and I pretty much doubled up.
What
if I
a
bought
fucking G move.
Dude, yeah, that's the fucking play.
Hell yeah, good timing.
Also, what's good, crypto? The homie.
Yeah, brother. Good to see
Hey,
everybody.
on that topic, could I ask you guys about like doing that with Kira? I've also got hit with Gecko. Like I kind of treat Kira differently. Obviously, treat it with more respect.
Kira is different. Kira's been hard as fuck to chart. I've tried, and it's just it's not operating like most coins do. That's for damn sure. Give me a
So not
second.
financial advice, but like when my Kira like 2x or 3x, should I be taking some out in stables and looking to buy back in, 40% less like you mentioned you did with Gecko? Or should I just keep holding? Because, now it's down and I could have maybe doubled my bag.
No one goes broke taking profits. You know what I mean? So it's always never a bad idea to take some profits. But again, if you've got 10,000 Kira, maybe sell 500 to 1,000 and then look to buy back in, right? You know what I mean? Like
small amounts. Okay.
Yeah. You use a little bit to try to make a little more, but if ultimately you're bullish on Kira, I wouldn't be trying to, sell out my bag of it.
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't
Low,
want
right?
I didn't want to
Take
get
big
punched.
money, add it in. That shit could send like it sent again, So it's you.
Yeah.
To his point, you want to
Same
have
thing.
be on the
See
train, but
how
play a little bit.
we had a pump and we moved up just a little bit. we had a pump. It looks like if we hold here, we moved up just a little bit. Like Kira has been very hard to track, but this. Oh shit! 1 second. I thought I was. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Okay. My bad. You can see, we had this little pump and then we moved up just a touch, right? We had this pump and moved up potentially just a touch if this is our low. Yeah, this is what I'm looking to ultimately. We're really coming down and being squeezed, in my opinion. If you're looking to buy more Kira, again, not financial advice, do your own research, but this doesn't look like a bad time to DCA.
Kira is one of those I'm not necessarily trying to make like the swing trade on. I'm just doing the slow accumulation where I'll try and make a swing trade on something else and then take a percentage of that profit and just put it in Kira like now per se. Like you're saying, it's a good time to buy and can't time the shit. And there's not that much volume in it yet. It's that price can change very quickly.
Let me pull up Thor again. I want to see this call that Banana's talking about. Let's see what we got here. We go back to Soul. And you're saying a 1 hour. So this is a call for 2.5%. Entry point $101.77, $101.50. Yes, we are approaching that as Solana is sitting at $100.87. So we are approaching this call potentially short. It is a smaller one. TP1 is at 2.5%. Now if I remove that, the 1 hour that lines up with the 4 hour, that's a 10%. That's one of the reasons we charted that one out. Right here. 111, 109 entry point with a take profit retest at 100. So, I am going to have to keep this one a little short tonight, guys. I've got some things I've got to take care of. But let's go to the 4 hour. As you can see, it looks like we are trying to break out. But you can see we had a couple tiny wicks break out, but ultimately nothing ever closed outside, dropped back in and found resistance. We are testing resistance on the RSI, and we are looking to try to hold support here. You can break down to the 1 hour, see if we get the bullish crawl, see if we can hold support. Or do we ultimately once again find resistance, because like for instance, right now it looks like the white line's gonna cross it and go up, right? Well, it probably looked the same here too until it started printing red candles and then it bent down. This is a lagging indicator, remember, right? So here where you have the bearish cross, when that crossed, look at where price actually is. Price is actually down here when it crossed, right? So keep that in mind. But looking at the 4 hour chart, yeah, we could be hitting that 1 hour short call. and then look to test support on the EMA. That's basically what it's saying. Test support on the short-term EMA again. But ultimately, look for the break and retest. And then either be prepared to take your short, or if you are in short, look to take your profits and be ready to enter long. I will post charts tomorrow. I'll do a little write-up. Wow, I forgot I had all this shit up here. I'll post charts tomorrow and do a little write-up of where we are. But ultimately, it's weird that it's more than once. Sol has been kind of showing signs that it needs to cool off a little bit, and then it's just continued to rip. And it could do so right now, That's why we prepare for either direction. But given that we do have the break, given that we have printed some candles under the white EMA, given we have printed some candles under the longer term, looks like we're being squeezed, and we may see a short come down to this entry point of 75 to 74. That's what I'm ultimately looking for, paying attention to. But yeah, I appreciate the fuck out, everybody. Does anybody have any quick questions? I don't want to just jump off, but I do have to wrap it up pretty shortly.
Thanks so much.
Anybody else got any questions? Appreciate you, dude. I really am so happy to see the same people coming in here each week, because if this was not worth your time, you wouldn't fucking be here. And since it's worth your time to be here, it is most certainly worth my time to be here with you. So I really do appreciate you guys and girls that are here each week and learning from this, and trading with Thor and getting into the Frogs community. I do appreciate it a lot.